Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryankaravavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So verse 10, we're continuing from yesterday, and I'm just going to chant it again. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yatta chittatma nirashira parigrahaha. So again, we said that this free from longing and possession. See, it's not, if you take this literally, it doesn't make sense, right? Free from all longing, from all possessions. And you say, what kind of possessions? Well, you have to put a filler word there. That means those possessions which kind of hold you down, hold you back from pursuing something that's important for you. So we're not saying anything's wrong or right with possessions. You just have to know, right? What is it that you want? What are you looking for? And whatever you're doing, is it subserving that goal, or is it sort of pulling me back? Is it pulling me back into, some place that doesn't really have a connection to what I want? So this means that you've kind of looked at your pressures, those diversions of the mind, and you're using your experience to bring it back, your challenges, to bring it back to what is it that I value, what is important for me, what do I find, what is it that I treasure, what do I find precious. So whatever it is that you treasure and find precious, these are your own personal values, and everything else is subserving those treasures of yours. So this means that this yogi who is capable of meditating has clarity. What are my goals in this life? There are relationship goals, there are health goals, there are spiritual goals, there are career goals. At the same time, the yogi is relatively balanced between them. He's neither, or she's neither, too much into one nor the other, because they understand that if you're out of alignment with your health goals, what happens? Everything else suffers. There's a connection. So this is the yogi who keeps it all, right, relatively healthy, relatively clean, and attends to their mind once in a while, attends to their health, attends to their social relationships, attends to their studies, attends to their working at work, and maintains a relatively good balance and healthy relationships. Because if you go to work and there's some tension at work, you may think, well, this is only at work, but the mind isn't like that, because it's going to take that back home and it's going to kind of color in everything else at your house. So this means it's in your interest to maintain a healthy relationship with all of those duties, all of our pressures, and all of our challenges that we have to attend in life, okay? Because it is connected. And now, knowing that you are relatively well balanced, yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha. Now, remaining alone in a quiet place, the yogi is able to, because their mind is not so disturbed by those things that are causing them conflict, right? Able to connect their mind to the object of meditation. And yesterday we said, well, what is this object of meditation? And we said that the Vedantic definition of, quote, meditation, or dhyanam in Sanskrit, is not thoughtlessness, is not holding your mind in a no state of thinking. It is, to the contrary, it is engaging this instrument, but for a very specific and precise reason. And what is that specific, precise reason? It is Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasam Vyaparaha. In other words, Vyaparaha, I am engaging the mind in the topic of Saguna Brahma. That means I am directing my mind towards Ishvara. Saguna Brahma is another name for Ishvara. So, this means that the meditator of chapter 6, what Lord Krishna is saying is what meditation consists of is using your mind to start to think about how does Ishvara relate to your life. Until I think about how Ishvara relates into my life, it is all sort of in the air. It's just all academic. It's academic knowledge. Ishvara is this, Ishvara is that. You have to start asking yourself the question, how does this Ishvara, how does this knowledge express in my everyday life, in breathing, in communicating, in all aspects of life? So now you're going to ask, how exactly do I approach this? Can you give us some, examples? So what does it mean to bring Ishvara into your life? Well, first you have step one, have to understand what is Ishvara, right? What is Ishvara not? In other words, I have to be clear, what is Ishvara not? Because we all carry this idea that Ishvara is some benign benign entity, right? Some benign entity who is, somewhere and, he loves everyone and, he's kind of like your father, he's your mother, and you're a little child. And these are all romantic notions that we've picked up from the world in various respectable places. They did the best they could. They got us a little bit forward. But then we have to clarify our definitions. Now look at this. If Ishvara was a benign entity, then what's going to happen is you're going to start saying, Ishvara, please do this for me because you're a benign entity. Please give me this. Please give me that. Please help me with my health. Help me with something. And what you're going to find yourself experiencing is not many of those things are manifesting in your life, at least not as fast as you want. And then you're going to say, well, Ishvara is not answering my prayers. Where is this benign entity that I've been told about? Why is he not answering? And I'm being completely sincere. Ishvara doesn't care. And then you say, Ishvara is also this benign entity, and yet he's the creator of the universe. So number one, he's not answering my prayers. And number two, if I look around, I see so much violence. And yet Ishvara is the creator of everything. So how do I explain violence? I have to introduce one more entity. Malignant entity, malign entity. Yeah, let's bring the devil in. So now I've got two entities here. I've got Ishvara, the beautiful entity, the all-loving, all-caring entity, and I've got the devil. And now it's like, they seem to be having a fight here. Well, if I look in the world, it seems that the devil seems to be getting an upper hand, because it seems that always somehow, these things come, and all of the good stuff gets suppressed, and all of the, devilish things come louder and louder and louder. And then you make another conclusion. Well, if Ishvara is the creator, the all, the omnipotent, and he cannot handle the devil, then why should I pray to that Ishvara? Why should I even have trust in that Ishvara who cannot even handle all of the devilish things that are going on in this world? And number two, if all-powerful Ishvara cannot suppress the devil, then what part do I have in doing something good for the world? One single idea about what Ishvara is that is incorrect, your whole life changes. Attitude changes, expression changes, interactions change. Now, that's their problem. I'm not going to do anything over there. And what does that do? It reinforces himsa. And that makes the person more guilty now. I didn't have the strength to go over there because, after all, What can I do? Okay? So this means first step, knowing that Ishvara is not some caring entity, this entity that loves you. It's not some sort of an entity up there, that's kind of punishing you and rewarding you. It's an impersonal intelligence that simply responds to causes and effects which are within Ishvara's order called Dharma. Ishvara doesn't say, oh, I'm just going to reward you randomly. It's impersonal. Just like when you see a tree outside and you go up to the tree's being a tree, a wonderful tree, and you use the tree for the wrong purposes or just kind of a silly purpose, go over to the tree and start rubbing against the tree. I'm going to rubbing against the tree. Oh, it's kind of itchy, I'm going to keep on rubbing against the tree. What happens? Started bleeding. And now I'm like, how dare you, tree? You punished me. You see, the tree was being a tree. It didn't not intend. It had nothing to do with it. The tree was just being itself. But I used all of my faculties, my capacity of choice, capacity of intelligence, and I used it in a way that brought me hurt. It was not tree who did anything to me, it was myself. I had the full capacity all along to use the tree in the way that it was meant to be used. In other words, Ishvara is not some entity that is punishing or rewarding you, but offering air, space, fire, water, earth, resources, food. How I use it is the exact kind of corresponding results that Ishvara returns. Therefore, first thing to understand is what Ishvara is not. It's not some uncle in the sky that is looking down, or some uncle, sending, agents like in the Matrix, right? And, giving me a hard time. This is all romance. This has to go away. Ishvara, impersonal, unbiased, infallible. Infallible means never makes a mistake, doesn't intend to hurt nor to reward, just offers itself. Here, I provided you your skeleton, your heart, your brain. I provided you a free will. I've provided you all of the laws. Here, my dear, use it. Use it. Use it for as you wish to exercise. And not only that, but Ishvara provides you the scriptures and says, well, you can pursue artha. You can pursue a lot of security. Security is wonderful. We all need security. You can absolutely pursue kama, a little bit of delights and entertainment and pleasures. Wonderful stuff. If you didn't have this, how would your life be without delights and pleasures? You go crazy. Okay, so this is all lovely stuff. A tea with honey is excellent. Food with spices. Imagine, look at this. Why do you eat spices? Why do you need spices? It's not very nutritious at all. Just eat bland pasta. Just go eat that. That's where the real nutrition is. Why do you need kama? You see, it doesn't make sense. So even though logically I only need the pasta or whatever, the tofu or the rice, for the sake of adding delights, you add some kama into it in the form of spices. So Vedas does not say that anything is right or wrong with anything. It only becomes destructive for you and the world, of course, is when you step on somebody else's toes. That means you deny somebody else the right to be themselves. You deny somebody else the right for them to shine in this world. So when we kind of make someone else's life hard and we don't allow them to shine, then it may seem like you're, getting away with it, but the compensation system is such that it has to return that back to the original person. Therefore, the trust I have is in this infallible order which never fails. It may seem like those who are violating the laws are getting away with it. However, your trust is in the ineffability, the ineffable order, the order that never fails, and it always returns the corresponding result to the original doer. It always tracks the original doer and goes, yep, I got you. And the original doer cannot get away with it even when they drop this body, because it is all within one order, and it's a perfect historical, should we call it a library of archives. And Ishvara goes to the archives and looks at, yep, done this, done this, done this, throws it to the jiva, and that's the kind of stuff that manifests for the jiva, and that's what we call in Sanskrit prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is the kind of life that the general trajectory of life that you have. Now, there is nothing wrong or right about prarabdha karma. This person from whom I've inherited all of these attributes, I don't know who they were, but I can make some inferences. Born as a thinker, you were born maybe as an artist, someone was born as with an intellectual mind, so you can make some inferences that fella, Mr. John Smith or Raj or Sumedha, whoever they were, they were already starting to think, they were already starting to inquire, and that simply got passed on to you. However, as we said in class, it doesn't mean just because you came with something, you're now good to go, because you need to protect what you've been given. In other words, I use that example where you may have come with a sense of empathy, a sense of giving to the other person, which is a very wise quality, but giving, that is, not taking care of all of my areas such as health, myself, social relationships, finances, not taking care of all of that, then what happens is I keep on giving, and I see that nobody's giving back to me. Now, whose fault is it? Others? Others' fault? No, it is something that you've neglected. Just like Pandu in the Mahabharata, who saw the deer, or he thought he saw the deer and heard the deer, he gladly strung that bow and he thought, I am confident that it is a deer. And he released that bow and he shot a sage and his wife. Even though he was an expert warrior in the arts of aiming, in the arts of identifying what is what, he was still negligent. And he was genuinely a kind, good person. He didn't intend to kill. But you know what? He goes up to the sage and sage curses him. In other words, this is indicator of Ishvara says, even if you had good intentions and you're a good person, I cannot exempt you from your mistake. That's the way how the law is. Now you're going to have to die next time you get intimate with your wife. And that is how Ishvara works. And so as you know, Madri, she was under a waterfall, looking beautiful, shining in the light of the sun, and he just felt that manly desire. And as she walked closer, he walked closer to her, and she knew that he was cursed. And she says, "No, stay, no, don't. You're gonna die." And he couldn't hold it back. And he comes intimate with her, and he drops dead. Again, Ishvara's laws never lie. They say it's going to happen, it will happen. That's called the infallible order of Ishvara. Whereas when we say something's going to happen, we forget. Ishvara doesn't forget. In other words, no matter what, you cannot cheat the system. Therefore, this is understanding what is Ishvara. Okay? What else is Ishvara? It is understanding that Ishvara is the intelligence that pervades all sentient beings. For example, right now, your thought, your experience is nothing but manifestation of Ishvara. It's just reshuffling itself constantly from everyone's standpoint, giving an individual experience. And whatever you're feeling right now is nothing but intelligence. Whatever you're thinking right now is nothing but intelligence. Whatever you're emoting and feeling right now, it's nothing but intelligence. Whatever you're experiencing right now, tomorrow, yesterday, it will always be one intelligence doing this constantly, doing this constantly, doing this constantly, doing that constantly. Therefore, Ishvara is in a form of your own body, in a form of your own thoughts. And then we have Ishvara is also in the non-sentient beings. And we discussed how is Ishvara in non-sentient beings. How is intelligence in non-sentient beings?
Atoms and concepts and so
Okay. So we have lovely answer, which was to reduce everything, stones, and ultimately, right, you come to concepts, and so it's all, right, reduces into awareness. Okay. Another way to understand how is intelligence manifesting as inert, not inert, but rocks and so on. And by the way, now that I said inert, there is a teaching in Vedanta that says there is inert and there is sentient. If you analyze this statement, is there such thing as inert? Like insentient? Like insentient world, insentient rocks, insentient water. Think about this. Is there such thing as insentient here?
Not really.
Why not? Go down, reduce it even further. Intelligence. How can you say intelligence is insentient? Look at this. This body, this thought is nothing but intelligence. And in reference to this, that means physical matter and subtle matter, it is matter, which ultimately reduces to intelligence. We say it's sentient. And that very same intelligence, when you have a rock and reduces to that same intelligence, you call that insentient. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as insentient anywhere in this world. It is all alive, all one intelligence in the presence of one awareful being. So going back originally, what else is Ishvara? It is also in the form of rocks and minerals and air and space and fire and water. How do you understand this? Again, use the example of the sun. When the sun is looked at independently, then you see it as just one object in the cosmos, and you see Earth as another object. But when you connect them together, what do you have? You have sun interacting with the water, right, creating the clouds being moved by the wind, which is further a product of, right, a high, pressure, air pressure and temperature. Eventually it condenses and the rains fall. And then the rains fall down to the mountains 3,000 kilometers away from the ocean, and they find themselves back to the ocean. Could you do that in a small city, in a small suburb? I push you somewhere, and you go from one end of the suburb to the other, maybe about 5 kilometers. Could you find your way? And yet the water falls on the Himalaya mountain, somehow travels 3,000 kilometers and finds its way back straight to the ocean. Where is the question of insentient? The whole thing is alive. Therefore, when you look at the connections between various phenomena in this world, you see the whole thing is connected. Just like your system, your body, which consists of heart, brain, lungs, spleen, so many systems all connected together, sentient. Clouds, rain, sun, water, mountain, ocean, also connected together, also sentient. Therefore, the whole thing is just intelligence. Having understood what Ishvara is and what Ishvara isn't, now we need to ask ourselves, what does this do for me? How do I use this to help me transform my life positively? And you begin to see that life is not unfair, because it is an impersonal order, as I said. It's not an order that is being unfair to you. You were never treated unfairly, by the way, in your life. Not one moment. It's just a cause-effect relationship. Someone does something that is not right, unfair, and there is an effect. You're experiencing a certain experience about that. Then you say something and they experience something about that. It's just an impersonal cause-effect relationship. Therefore, life in this sense is not treating me unfairly. It's just bringing me effects. of the world. And I have to intelligently navigate myself within those effects to maintain your sanity, to maintain your health, to maintain your sense of order in life. Therefore, we no longer take it so personally. Before, people are, like this to me, people are like this to me, like that to me. Now, a person is being like this is the result. Now, let me do the best I can to manage this wisely. Okay? No more of this kind of personal, it's about me, about me, about me. It's just one order here in whom all of these waves are just interacting with each other constantly. And some waves are not so educated. This is just how it is. They're working, they're busy, they're drinking, this and that. And you will be in the line of fire in one of those waves. You will be in the middle of them. And you will sometimes, right, take the hit. And then you have to bring yourself up and continue going forward. Because how many of us come to earth here? Billions. And therefore, everyone carries their own karmic accounts, their own stuff. And that stuff interacts with your own stuff. And you have two circles like this, crossing over. And sometimes they're not always compatible. And therefore, conflict ensues. And you have to manage that. So rather than taking it personally, the person understands, I don't have to. It's just something to manage like this. It's never been personal. It's just needs to be done. Just needs to be done. Solved, moved on. You can also use Ishvara, Ishvara's force of destruction, to your advantage. So we often fear or feel a certain apprehension or doubt about death or destruction. It's interesting. We love creation, we love new things being created. But we sometimes look in a different attitude when it comes to death or change or destruction. So what the individual can do to relate with Ishvara, remember, the whole thing I'm saying now is how to relate with Ishvara. One thing that we can do to relate with Ishvara is to bring Ishvara's law of change, law of destruction, law of death to your advantage. For example, you can say that whatever happens in my life is an event, but not all events can be pleasant. This is a fact. Not all events are pleasant. Not all experiences are pleasant. But what I can do is I can pray and I can say to Ishvara, may I have the strength to handle anything that comes my way. May I have the capacity to stay strong and grounded, to hold this knowledge whatever comes my way. And may you help me remove whatever destructive patterns I am carrying in my mind. Help me to remove whatever is holding me back that I may not know and yet it's there. Help me to discover those silent, unconscious, buried patterns, those destructive voices. Help me to bring them out so that I can look at them and release them. Just to have them brought out is enough. That alone helps it to be released. A little prayer. And in Sanskrit we have what's called the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra, and you may have heard me say it, Om Trayambakai Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Ma Mrita At. Okay? So Om Trayambakai Yajamahe. In other words, I prostrate to Ishvara in the form of this destructive force. I prostrate to that destructive force, which I need to help me remove my destructive patterns, because only the removing force, destructive force, that which removes, only that can sweep my stuff away that I no longer want. Therefore, Om Trayambakaya Jamahe, to that force, to that power of destruction, I prostrate. Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam. What can this do for me? It is that which blesses me with removing, helping me remove those things that I do not wish to have in my life. And thus it creates new opportunities. Om Trayambakaya Jamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan. In other words, What do I want from this destruction, this force of destruction? Well, what I want is to be free of bondage. I want to be free of those things that are holding me back. Just like a pumpkin or a cucumber, which when it is ripe, it eventually releases by itself. In that same manner, those cucumbers or right, whatever, cucumbers, watermelons, what else holds onto a little thing and just releases, right, pumpkin. Just like when I am nourished, may I be nourished enough that naturally all of those things that are hanging on me, may they just naturally release by themselves. May I nourish myself enough with the right knowledge, with the right values, and the right conduct, so that when my mind is filled and I am looking at my life and I'm looking at this life as an expression of Ishvara, slowly, all of those things hanging on me just start to fall away. Mrityor mukshya ma mrta ate. In other words, what do I ultimately seek from this force of destruction? What's the highest use I can make of it? And that is to ask for my release. Release from ignorance. May it destroy the ignorance, every trace of it that is holding me back. Because the truth is, after you die, your body dies, there is no guarantee that that is the end of it. In fact, we don't say, oh, I got it, therefore this is my last life. No, humility. You don't get to call the shots. The last one who has the say is Ishvara. Even if you are 100% clear right now on your nature of who you are, when your body drops, you still don't call the shots what happens. That's why humility, that's why we invoke the force of destruction. May more patterns, more destructive patterns keep on releasing, because I do not know what's going to happen after death. That's the truth, because you're not the governor of the universe. All you can do at the end is, God, I have done all I could. I have prayed, I have thought about it, I have asked for the removal of all of these things that are holding me back. Now you choose what is to happen next, because I have no say, but I wish that I be released permanently from this world of form. Therefore, humility is until last breath. And until then, Om Trayambakaya Jamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiya Mamrta At Om Trayambakaya Jamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiya Mamrta At. All lifelong like this, asking. Let Ishvara keep on removing. It is given to you as an opportunity every single day to remove this stuff that's holding you down. And therefore, it is up to you to uplift yourself by invoking Ishvara's force of destruction, rather than being afraid of it. That is your best friend given to you. Just have to invoke it. And it comes to you. It's like this. Ishvara is almost bored nowadays. No one's praying. It's like no one's praying to me anymore. And just kind of, lost that culture. So if you start praying, Ishvara will hear you. And finally, sustenance. Ishvara not only has the power of manifestation, that which creates, it also is the power of destruction, that which removes what is created to give way for the new. But also it is the power of sustenance. It sustains that which is created, and it gives you seeming stability over what is manifest. Right now, you think there is a hand here, and it's still. But there is so much movement going on right now. So much movement. And if you saw all of that, you could not function in this world. You're spinning right now, all of us. How many kilometers per hour is the Earth spinning?
60,000.
1,000 plus, right? 1,200 something. 1,000 plus minus. Who feels like they're spinning You see, you have seeming stability, and that's just in reference to basically being on earth. And there's so much activity going on right now. There's high blood pressure, low blood pressure. There is heart pumping. There is, blood from the feet upwards and downwards. So much activity and noise is going on. And you have seeming stability. And you need that to function, to figure things out. Okay? The yogi also brings in the law of dharma. In other words, you have this capacity to make a choice. And whatever choice you make is the corresponding result you get. And as we said, it's up to you which choice you want to exercise. Whichever choice you exercise, you will get feedback. That means you will know whether that choice was in your self-interest and how well that choice got exercised. So this is the beautiful thing about Ishvara, is it always gives everyone feedback how well they have exercise their options. How else can we relate to Ishvara? So far, by understanding the infallible law that Ishvara is. For every effect, for every cause, there's an effect. There is manifestation, there is destruction, there is sustenance. So that means all I see is manifestation, sustenance, and destruction. Through that, I can start to relate. Because it is all intelligence doing it. Right here, right now. How else can we relate with Ishvara? Well, whatever you put into the field, you will get something in return. This is just how the law is. So what we do in the Gita, there is something called Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. That means you have an intellect which maintains the fact that whatever comes to me is coming from the altar of God. Altar of this infallible order, which never makes a mistake and has returned this to me for me to use and learn something from. So whatever comes to me is a learning experience, a chance to continue my growth, a chance to deepen the understanding to Ishvara. Everything that comes to you is a chance to deepen yourself into this knowledge, into Ishvara. Like this. Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. It is a blessing of God. Have a little package drop down from the sky with a little nice wrap and says, open me. And you open, and there's a boxing hand, punches you. And then you go, oh, and then it's a little note, this boxing hand is because of that. And you go, so I'm going to trace this with that, that was not good. And then you make a course adjustment. And like this is wonderful. You can see how loving Ishvara is indeed. Just in a very funny way. That you okay. So therefore, what we're doing is firstly bringing Ishvara into our life by understanding how Ishvara plays a huge role in your life 24/7. This is relating with Ishvara. Seeing how my life is a representation, an expression of Ishvara. After having properly understood what Ishvara is, I start to relate with Ishvara, and then later we can bring I and Ishvara equation as one. This will come a little bit later. But we start out by how? Understanding what Ishvara is, understanding what Ishvara is not. That's step one. Step two, having understood what Ishvara is and isn't, now I can start to relate to Ishvara. That is step two. Step three, which will come later, now I can start to bring the knowledge that I and Ishvara are one. Now, let's go through these steps in detail. Verse 11, how to position yourself in meditation. Shuchau deshe pratishtapya stiram asanam atmanaha nat yuchritam nati nicham chaila jina kushotaram. Okay, so this is very quick. Shuchau deshe pratishtapya. So having put yourself in a clean environment, in other words, in a respectful frame. So step one, putting oneself in a very clean, nice environment. You don't want to be sitting in a swamp before meditation. Stiram asanam atmanaha. So having certain amount of comfort Of course, these are very short things. Obviously, you don't want to have aches and whatever, when sitting down. Na ati uchritam. In other words, neither is your seat too high or too low. Just right so that you feel, close to the ground or whatever your elevation is that you prefer. These are all very simple things that you can choose how to sit down in meditation, on a pillow, on the ground, whatever it's your thing, it is your thing. Okay? Chaila ajina kusha uttaram. See, in the older days, we used to sit on straw and deer skin. So, find some deer skin and some straw and sit down, right? So you see, you have to, adjust. So nowadays you sit on yoga mats or whatever. Okay, now next verse. Having made the correct posture, where to sit and made yourself comfortable, what's next? Remind yourself what is the purpose of meditation. So therefore, so far, sit down, make yourself comfortable, crossed legs on the chair, it is up to you. There's no rules to this. Step 2, remind yourself what is the purpose of meditation. Verse 12, tatraika grammanah kritva yatta chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyad yogam atma vishuddhaye. So what is the purpose of meditation? It is bringing one's mind back to the object of meditation. Bringing one's mind, how often bringing one's mind? Whenever it flies away. So therefore we remind ourselves, what is the purpose of meditation? To bring my mind back to the object of meditation for a period of time. And what is the object of meditation? Ishvara. Okay. Now, what does this do for you? Having brought your mind to the object of meditation, yoga atma vishuddhaye. Basically, it means, it allows you to clean up the inner pressures. So by doing this on and on and on, this meditation that we will, that we're going through, it slowly, unwinds those inner pressures, those bottled up pains that are causing me to think in a destructive mode, causing all of those voices to keep on running, all of those negativities to keep on, reoccurring. So I am allowing myself for all of it to come out. In meditation? Yes. Okay? So we will see where this fits in the meditation. Okay? Now it says the word yoga atma vishuddhaye. In other words, here the word atma doesn't mean consciousness. In the scriptures, the word atma can change depending on the context. Here it means the mind. So in other words, cleaning up the pressures within your mind. Okay? And then next verse, additional adjustments before meditation. I'm not going to chant, it's very short. Verse 13, basically, keep your body in a straight line. So not slouched, erect, and eyes are between the eyebrows. So the reason this is prescribed is that eyebrows means basically sometimes at the tip of the nose or here, between the eyebrows. But you don't necessarily do it with your physical eyes. So you don't strain and look like that. It's just as though you're looking between here. And whenever the mind wavers, you just bring it to that little point that you sense a little kind of a spot between your eyebrows. So you don't have to move your eyes and hold them like that. So between the eyebrows, the point always returns back to while the mind is trying to fly left and right. Okay. Now, verse 14. We'll talk about the steps to meditation. Okay, verse 14. Prashantatma vigata bhihi brahmachari vrate stitaha manah samyamya machittaha yukta asita matparaha. So manaha samyamya. direct meaning of this is managing the mind. So the first step in meditation is withdrawing your mind from roles. In other words, from associative thinking. Now you say, what is associative thinking? Well, the nature of your mind works by association. That's just how the mind works. If you, for example, think about Italy, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Italy. Now when you say pizza, what's the next thing? Tomato. Tomato, what's the next thing? Right, and so on and so on. Like one day I was in a kitchen, and when I was in the kitchen, I saw my brother, and my brother said this to me, and then I thought about that, and so it just keeps on going. And there's a story of how there's one man who kind of fell for this associative thinking, and what happened is he was invited to a little dinner, and it was high officials and some important people. And he sat down like everyone else. There was about 15 of them. And the host started to serve mashed potatoes and give 2 scoops of mashed potatoes to every guest. And they were all talking and happy. And when the host came to his plate, he only gave him 1 scoop of potato. And he continued giving 2 scoops to other people. And this man started to suspect something. I only got 1 scoop of potato. What is this? How dare he? How dare he insult me? Everyone got 2 scoops. Look at me. Who does he think I am? I'm going to get him back for this. What is he doing? I'm going to get him back. I don't like him. Why is he doing this? What's wrong with me? I'm going to get him back. He starts to get so angry, and everyone else is just having a good time. They don't even know how many scoops they got. All this man can notice is 1 scoop on his plate. And he's just coming up with all of these reasons how this means something. And this is totally unfair. The world is treating me unfair. I am not the person that's worthy of 1 scoop. I need 2 scoops. And he's just not having any fun at all. And yeah. Yeah, right. And the end of the night, everyone goes home, they're all, friendly. And this guy now is like hot, boiling hot, steam coming out of his ears. He goes home and he starts plotting how he's going to get this man back. And he can't sleep. So he goes all night without sleeping, and he wakes, and he finally, the dawn comes, the sun comes back up, and he goes, aha, I got it. I'm going to invite all of them to my house, and I'm going to serve everyone 2 scoops. And I'm going to give this man 1 scoop and watch him suffer hard. And this is going to bring me so much joy. And so he made, the invitation, the postcards, and everyone's, starts to come little by little. And they all sit down, and he's like, he sat there. So he starts to serve the scoops. And everyone gets 2 scoops, and finally, when he's behind this 1 scoop man, it's like the mega scoop. And he continues serving to the rest of these people. And now he made it such that he can get to see this man suffer for as long as possible. So he's sitting very close, so he can observe every single facial expression. But this man doesn't even notice what he got. He's having the blast of his life. He's the life of the party. And he's eating his scoop, he's eating a little bit of other people's stuff. He's just having so much fun. And this man starts to totally go berserk. This man's not suffering. I spent a whole day, worrying about this. And he's like, oh God. And he starts to realize something. I just created all of this nonsense in my mind about what this means and how he doesn't like me and how I'm an unworthy person and how I'm going to get him back. And I lost a day of sleep. I insulted myself, and I spent $1,000 serving potatoes to these people who I don't even like. And they're sitting down, and I have to clean all this nonsense up afterwards. And he realized how much of a story he's created in his mind just from 1 single scoop. This is the nature of the mind. This is how it is. It just keeps on building. Unless you intercept it, it's not going to stop. Now the question is, how do you intercept it? And this is where the first step of meditation comes, called japa. Japa is a very important part of meditation, which intercepts this repetitive thinking. Because have you ever had a time where you can't get a song out of your head? Yeah, that's japa. Now, if it's a japa, if it's a song that reminds you of the presence of Ishvara, that's even better because it starts to, change your experience about the whole thing. So japa is having some mantra which is personal to you. Often we think it is something that is prescribed. In some traditions, this is fine. But ideally, japa is selected by you. It can be something in English, it can be something in Sanskrit, anything that feels close to you. For me, for example, japa is always 3 words, Om Tat Sat. And that comes from chapter 17 of the Bhagavad Gita. And what Om Tat Sat means is a specific understanding there, which I will get to soon. What I want to say first is, rather than just chanting japa on and on and on, mindlessly, the point is to understand what each syllable means. So you can say like Om Namaha Shivaya, Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, whatever mantra is close to you. So when I chant, for example, Om Tat Sat, what's very interesting is you chant your mantra for so long, for so many years, that the moment you chant it, the whole teaching comes to you. Because you thought about each syllable, what it means. For example, when we chant Om, it can stand for different things. In the Om Tat Sat case, this is beautiful because Om encompasses the past, everything in the present now, that means forms, past forms, present forms, and future forms. Okay, so when I say Om, I'm including all forms, all forms. Now, as we discussed in Kena Upanishad, what is the truth of all forms? Okay, intelligence. Intelligence. Okay, and that intelligence has no reality apart from Sat, existence, awareness. Okay, awareness. So whenever one can chant Om, they think about Om, they include all forms, including the person who's doing Om, because sound is just form, right? And the meditator is just a form. Om Tat, aha. And the truth of these forms is intelligence, Sat. And Sat, the awareness because of which these changes, this meditation is known to be taking place. And then again, Om, all forms right now. Tat, the truth of all forms is intelligence, Ishvara. And Sat, the truth of Ishvara, all forms and I is awareness. Again, Om, Tat, Sat. Om, forms. Tat, intelligence. Sat, awareness. Again, Om, forms. Tat, intelligence. Sat, awareness. So this is one way to interpret Om Tat Sat. This is not the only way. It's up to you. Now, knowing what the syllables are of Om Tat Sat, what one can do is start chanting in meditation, closing eyes, first step. Relaxing. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. The mind wanders, again, bring it back. Om Tat Sat. The mind goes to the music, bring it back. Between the eyebrows, remember? Om, think about it. Forms, Tat Sat. Om 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 Tat Sat. Okay, come back. Okay, come back. So, Om Tat Sat, whatever mantra you want, this is your mantra. And the whole point of japa is to simply bring the mind back, because the mind tends to work through associative thinking. So we bring it for about 5 minutes, and thereby the mind is calm enough to begin meditating. And thus step 2 is to begin relating with Ishvara. Okay, so step 1, japa. Step 2, begin relating with Ishvara. This involves first knowing what is Ishvara. Now you start to think, what is Ishvara? Is it some daddy? No, it is impersonal intelligence. What is Ishvara? What is Ishvara not? You're thinking about this. Remember, the purpose of meditation is to think, what is Ishvara? How does Ishvara relate in my life? Thinking about it. How does Ishvara relate in my life? In what way does Ishvara relate in my life? The force of destruction. How many things has Ishvara removed in my life? To that force I pray to. May you remove all of those destructive patterns from my life. While doing this, you say, Ishvara, help me to bring up all of the pain, unconscious pain that is within me. Allow that pain to come out. Allow that pain that is holding me back. The patterns, all of that yuck, whatever is hiding down there, let it come out in this moment. Let me just see it. And give me the strength to release it. Please help to destroy it. Therefore, step 1, japa. Step 2, thinking, how does Ishvara relate to your life? Step 3, allowing all of that pain to come out. Just let it come out. And when it comes out, release it. How do you release it? Just ask, may this be released. It's an active process. And through this process, matparaha, the meditator is able to collapse the highest potential of knowing the truth, because they are cleaning up their mind through meditation. And you need a clean mind to understand the reality. Okay? So what is the order? What is the journey, if there is an order? Well, firstly, how does a wave start in the ocean? The wave starts being a wave, separate from other waves. I don't need other waves, I'm here to use other waves for my advantage. It's all about me versus you. This is how we all start, me versus you. It's fine, it's not anything to say about it, it's how it is. And that wave soon realizes I need other waves. There's something going on here, there's an order here, which if I don't align myself to, I suffer. So the wave through maturity, through falling down, starts to see that I really have no choice but to align myself to certain laws that I'm observing. Therefore, the wave in the second stage starts to develop a relationship with the ocean. Develop relationship with the ocean through meditation, through accommodating, through bringing in the laws of accommodation, ahimsa, okay? Lack of pretense, lack of facade, straightforwardness, doing what is to be done. That means the wave starts to live a certain way that is keeping with the harmony of the ocean. Because the wave realizes I am never apart from the ocean and I have no choice but to align myself to the ocean. I actually have no choice. Why? Because it is for your good to align yourself to the ocean. You're not doing it for someone else. I'm not following some 10 commandments for someone else. I'm doing it for my sake. Because the way that it's made is, when the laws are broken, it comes back to the one who has broken them. And that hurts. And the person doesn't want to suffer. Therefore, getting clear, what is the cost of violating certain laws? This much the individual is clear. Okay? Undoing past hurts, reframing responses, all of this is part of growth, relative growth. And what is this relative growth? And meditation. How else do you relate with Ishvara? And meditation. Eventually the mind becomes pure enough, and then the wave is able to move to the third stage, the final stage. And now the wave gets informed about the pramana, and the wave is able to understand my truth. There is one more reality here that I've been missing out on. Yes, there is me, the wave, and there is ocean, Ishvara, but we both enjoy one same reality, the water. The substance is the same between us. And thus, the wave initially felt separate in stage 1, separate from everyone else. Then the wave connected to the ocean. The wave was now a small being who had to prostrate to the ocean. It was not to waste, it was to help the wave mature. That's part of devotion. That's part of having a relationship with Ishvara. Having a relationship with Ishvara, the wave was able to move their identity from a single wave by understanding there is one common truth between myself, the wave, and the ocean, which is known to me as I am, I am, I am, and in this case it is the water. It is that from which the whole thing arises, as both the ocean and the wave. This is the journey of the jiva. Starts out isolated, feeling small, doing constant actions, helping oneself through things here and there. Nothing's really working. And then through maturity starts to connect, finds religion in life. That's why we don't criticize things, because every seeker is doing, moving through these stages. Eventually starts to develop a relationship with God, with Ishvara, and eventually comes to the teaching and gets shown the final truth. And that is the end of the jiva's struggles for more, for being someone, for becoming someone. Then the jiva can continue living, doing what is to be done until the moment when Ishvara takes your body away. Okay? Therefore, there's only one entity. And when that one entity gets discovered, nothing changes, remember? Because the water was there all along. That's why it is not an experience, just an understanding that there is one additional reality, which is awareness. Now, next session, we will talk about the difference between meditation and contemplation.
I've been doing that kind of meditation for many years, opening myself up to allow the pain to arise in the tears in the light of Ganesha, for me, Ishvara's Ganesha. And I'm just curious, for me, it seems like to be a barrel without a bottom. It's like a waterfall. It seems to be endless, and I don't mind. That's just the way it is. I'm just curious how it's for you. Does it ever change in that way, or?
So if I'm understanding the question, so you're allowing yourself to feel those unprocessed thoughts and ideas and emotions, and it just never ends.
Well, they seem to come up more and more and more, and I'm just
Sure.
letting them arise and letting them go.
Yeah, I think this is more of a personal thing. It's hard to tell. I mean, I had that before. For me, it was also, tears, just spontaneous tears, but it eventually stops until there's nothing more to cry to. So I don't know how it is from person to person, but one of the steps is to let that unprocessed stuff, just come out and let it be felt. Because just to feel it and just to go, hi, hello, hi, just to greet it, that alone already, ends it, helps it to release. What really keeps it is not looking at it. Yeah, so it's very hard to tell. And meditation isn't just about releasing, it's also relating with Ishvara. So you have to assess, is it helping me? Do I feel kind of, lighter? How do I feel afterwards? Yeah, so what Simon is saying is, it's tricky because sometimes when we let the stuff come out, we can build a story around it, and it itself becomes another meditation, just ruminating on it endlessly. So again, there's no specifics here. There is option to release it. There's an option to go back to japa. There's an option to go back to relating with Ishvara. There is an option to go back to pranayama. So this just some ideas. You will notice that this is not like you need to do this, you need to do that. It's just giving you some ideas what meditation involves. Often we hear these techniques and we just follow it to the letter, but it isn't really like that. Everyone's different, so you have to honor your own personal style. So the Gita is just pointing some ideas, right? Japa, relating with Ishvara, that one is definite because Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasavyaparaha, relating with Ishvara. So that's the only definitive one that we are getting in the Gita. The japa is something that you can do before just to help the mind calm down a little bit. And then releasing unprocessed emotions is something else you can do. Okay. Any other comments about meditation?
I'm not doing this meditation, but I noticed since I start with a spiritual commitment, that anyway those things show up from time to time to me. And so I'm glad to hear that you can approach like this and ask, because they show up anyway. What I conclude was, okay, now maybe we're showing up those destructive force, sometimes in a dream, that I was not busy with this, but then they show those images. But I understand, if I am everything, so everything is also in me, and then I am kind of stronger now, so you can show up to me now.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit easier, okay, to show up. But still, there's stuff there, and this stuff can come out anytime. And therefore, this is a relationship that you have with all of that buried stuff, of 30 plus years, and you let it come out for a moment, and just by it showing up, it dissolves. You don't even have to do anything with it, because the moment you get involved, as Simon said, it just becomes now an analysis, and it goes everywhere. So just look at it like, Ishvara, help me to release this. That's how I personally do it. I just pray, and it just goes away.
But sometimes it's also nice if all the stuff appears and you just let them in. If you start to cry, it just purifies you. It purifies your mind. It purifies. It has that the purification inside. You can feel it as what he was saying.
What Shanya?
Yes, that you feel lifted up, but it also, just I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And the tears is just like saying goodbye. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So you're enveloping it with some knowledge, some not just letting it just go and going on. It's for the purpose of releasing it. It's not for the purpose of just feeling into it and getting emotional. The purpose is to release it. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we have this certain attitude of, Ishvara, this is all coming out. Help me to release this. Yeah, I just want to be free and happy and live, and feel your presence. End of the day, that's what it's about. I just want to be free of this. Therefore, it's not just now letting it all go, but you're bringing in the knowledge with some intellect and you're saying, help me to release this. That's called relating with Ishvara, asking for help, acknowledging your helplessness, and then asking for help. That is relating with Ishvara. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.